Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Music Den. I'm your host Armando Venditti. Hope you guys are having a fantastic day. Here in Edmonton, it is around 21 degrees Celsius, overcast and rainy. So wherever you guys are, I hope if it's warm, you're keeping cool. If it's cool, I hope you're keeping warm and you're looking after yourselves and one another. In this episode of the Music Den, I'm going to be doing another installment of In the Spotlight. Now, I'm going to be focusing on a band that you may or may not have heard of. I didn't hear about this band until roughly 2016. I heard of the one song that they're known for, but I didn't hear it from them. Heard it from the Carpenters of all people. Don't get me wrong, I love me some Carpenters. Karen Carpenter had the voice of butter. Perfect, beautiful, melodic. But I'm going to be focusing on the band that wrote this song and their debut album. The band is Klaatu, and the album is 3:47 Eastern Standard Time. The two were formed in Toronto in 1973 as a duo, but they quickly got a third member in the band for drums and percussion. You had in the band John Wilichuk on vocals, keyboards, mellotron, I should say, and bass. You had D Long on guitars and ukulele and mellotron, various instruments. And finally, Terry Draper on drums, percussion, and vocals. Okay. 3:47 Eastern Standard Time was released through the Daffodil label, which is a Canadian record company, in August of 1976. Now, as I said before, when this album came out, it was basically, there was some controversy about it because the band basically came out of nowhere. And the album was released subsequently through Capitol Records in the US in 1977. And for some reason, word got out that these guys were basically the Beatles recording under another name. The Beatles had broken up, of course, as we all know, in 1970, to the shock and dismay of fans all over the world. But again, they were not getting along. So if you're not getting along, what is the point of continuing on? I don't get that. But anyways, I digress. This album, when it was released, 3:47 Eastern Standard Time, was musically compared to the Beatles, 10cc, the Beach Boys, Queen. I don't hear the Queen influence on this album. Possibly very minimal influence on the vocals, but very minimal. I do hear the Beatles influence. I do hear the Beach Boys influence. I do hear to an extent the 10cc influence on one track, and I'll get to that in a minute. But in terms of the Queen influence, very, very minute. It's got to be said. The album was produced by the band along with Terry Brown. Now, Terry Brown, as you all know, produced a majority of the Rush albums from the 70s into the 80s. Also worked with Fates Warning. The production on this album is stellar. I mean, it is pristine. It is clear as a bell. The drums are heavy, thick, not heavy in terms of playing, but in terms of production. Like, it does have a rich, thick drum sound on the snares and bass. There is a lot of use of mellotron and keyboard textures, the lead off track and single. Calling Occupants of Interplanetary Craft was a minor hit for them. It was a double A side with Sub Rosa Subway, which is track 4 on the album. Again, a minor hit for them for Klaatu in the US. The Carpenters took it 2 years later and released a version of it and did a fantastic, beautiful version of it, which is how I first heard it. I do believe people thought that Calling Occupants was a Carpenter's original, but it was not. It is delivered in a prog kind of a feel, very futuresque. A lot of keyboards, thickly textured keyboard passages on this track. The vocals are delivered in a very soft, laid back, emotional delivery. It is a beautiful, heart rendering track, very emotional, very emotive, beautiful. The next track, California Jam, is more Beach Boys oriented. When I hear this, I do hear Beach Boys type vocals. I think of Good Vibrations. The next track, God forgive me for this title, Anus of Uranus. More straightforward rock oriented with a bit of futuristic keyboards used on this. Sub Rosa Subway is, again, this is where the Beatles influence come in. Very beautiful use of piano and keyboards. It's got to be said too on this album, and especially with Calling Occupants, they use a lot of panning. There's a section of Calling Occupants where there's an acoustic piano part that comes in, and it comes in from the right channel speaker right into the center of the mix. And there's different sections to it, which to me reminds me of A Day in the Life from Sgt. Pepper. It does sound that they were listening to Sgt. Pepper during the making of this album. Sgt. Pepper, Revolver, Magical Mystery Tour. Moving on, side 2 starts with True Life Hero, which is basically a straightforward rock track. Beautiful track, leading into another track, Dr. Morello, which again, it's very Beatle-esque use of sitar, mellotron on this track. It's got to be said, the Beatles were a major influence on this band. I really don't hear the Queen influence prominently. It has to be said that it's more of a Beatles pastiche type of an album, especially with the vocals and the use of sitar. The next track, Sir Bosworth Rigglesby III. What can I say about this track? It's the most comedic track on the album. What can I say? It's when I hear it, I think of all things, The Muppet Show. Dr. Teeth, the Muppet, Dr. Teeth, that kind of vocal delivery, that kind of husky, Dr. John kind of feel. They use a lot of harmony vocals on this track. And again, piano and mellotron, I hear it. Also, they alter the pitch on the harmony vocals to a higher and a lower pitch and interweave them together. I mean, they could have used another track instead of this one. This one is basically the outlier for the album. If they didn't use this track, it wouldn't have made a huge difference, but they did, and it's fine. After hearing this track in comparison to the rest of the album, this is the outlier of the album, you know. Little Neutrino is the last track. The album is bookended by both two epic long tracks. Calling Occupants is a 7-minute plus track. Little Neutrino is an 8-minute plus track. So they bookended the album with two, I guess, prog-esque type of tracks. Again, very futuristic use of keyboards and I guess altered pitched vocals in terms of early what you call vocoder type of vocals on this. Very futuristic track. Nice. It's a good way to end the album. I can understand why they would end, or they would start and end the album this way. It's almost like the album starts with, aliens coming to Earth and going through the experiences on Earth, and then leaving, going back to the planet, going back to the planet with their experiences and telling people what happened when they got back home, kind of a thing. It is a good album. I can understand though why the record company, either here, Daffodil or Capitol in the US, would have a difficult time labeling the album, marketing the album in terms of the style of music, because it's all over the place, right? Which is good. I mean, you want variety. You want variety on your releases, right? If that's the kind of band you want to be. Is it maybe too much variety? I'll let you be the judge of that. And you can let me know down below if you listen to this album, or when you listen to this album, you can let me know down below what you think of the album. Unfortunately, the band, their last release was in 1981. I do not believe that they achieved much success in the US due to the being all over the place. There were rumors that, again, that this was the Beatles reformed under another name. Capitol, who distributed the Beatles albums in the US, did not do any clarification in terms of when when they were asked, are these the Beatles or not? They did not deny, or they did not agree that they didn't answer any questions. They didn't deny or confirm whether or not these were the Beatles or not. And I don't know whether or not that hurt the album or hurt their chances in the US. I do believe that it is a good listen, worthwhile listen. I do need to be in a certain frame of mind to listen to this album. I do believe that Calling Occupants is a fantastic piece of work. I think it's beautiful, melodic, emotional, again, emotive. I do think that it is an album that you can listen to and get to know and enjoy. So please, down below again, if you've heard of this album, put your comments down below and let me know what you think. Do you like this album? Do you not like this album? Have you heard of this album in some form or another? Because in the US, this was 3:47 Eastern Standard Time, was released under the name of Klaatu, debut, self-titled. So if you know this album, again, please let me know what you think, and click the notification bell to keep yourselves on top of any new content that I've got coming up. I'm going to be doing a review of the new documentary of Wham that's on Netflix. Said when I started this channel that I was going to be doing a cross section of music. I'm also going to be doing an album ranking of Guns N' Roses. So that should not be a very long video because they don't have very many albums under the name of Guns N' Roses. So, but yeah, again, please let me know what you think of Klaatu, 3:47 Eastern Standard Time. And click like and subscribe. And again, hit the notification bell to keep yourselves on top of any new content that I've got coming up. That is it for now. Again, please look after yourselves and one another. And I will see you soon. Bye-bye.